So we'll proceed now into the advocacy of health protection schemes, and AHIN has been working with GIZ and specifically this advocacy for the use of openIMIS. So this afternoon we have Saurav Bhattarai, the advisor for openIMIS initiative at the GIZ. We have Wahse, the ICT expert, sector initiative on social protection of the GIZ, and Nirmal Dhakal, the senior technical advisor of GIZ Nepal. Who will now talk about the new modular openIMIS system. So please welcome the gentlemen.
Good afternoon, good morning to people joining in. My name is Saurav, and today myself and my colleague Uwe will take you through on a presentation on what's new in openIMIS. But before we get into that very quickly, just to recap to all of you who might not know what openIMIS is, but in keeping with AHIN's theme this year for the general meeting on achieving universal health coverage through digital health, openIMIS is an open source software and a digital public good for managing health financing processes. So basically helping you digitize the link between beneficiaries, providers, and payers of healthcare. Not only is openIMIS a software, but it is a community of practice supported by a community of software developers, of users, as well as implementers from all across the world. And of course, the joint mission is to increase and improve access to UHC. Now I'm just going to go through some highlights from 2022 so far, so that you see what we've been working on in the past year. In the community of openIMIS, we have new implementations. In Asia, Bangladesh has a new implementation focusing on their newly launched employment injury insurance scheme. In Africa, we have two new implementations this year in Niger and Mauritania for health insurance schemes. We do have new ones also in the pipeline, for example, in the Gambia. And with these implementations, the number of beneficiaries that openIMIS has been serving to manage has reached the 10 million mark. So over 10 million beneficiaries are actively being managed in various implementations of openIMIS. And with this growth, we're seeing a lot of new implementers being able to support countries, as well as new software developers actively engaging into the tool. Partnerships has also been increased and strengthened through this year with more partnerships and work done together with the ILO, as well as the International Social Security Agency Association, sorry. And for all of you community members, we've been working on new materials. You do know that there's a new e-learning course available. AHIN has been also working on a regional version of this. We've been developing materials in French, as well as now opening up the governance structure to ensure that we have wider participation and the introduction of a stakeholder committee for that. But one of the major things that we've been working on, not only this year, but throughout the last few years, has been a migration of the software itself. And we are very close to the big bang into the fully modular openIMIS. And for that, I want to invite my colleague Uwe to take you through our rationale and the process of how we have reached this modular openIMIS. Uwe, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Saurav, and my greetings to the audience as well. We can start with the first slide to get an overview of where, yes, thank you, of what we actually wanted to do from the beginning. So starting in 2018, we had this monolithic software package based on Microsoft technologies. And we wanted to have something in a bit more modern technology, more modern architecture. and also in open source technologies and frameworks. So basically, having had that legacy openIMIS, which was maybe divided in 3 layers architecturally, we wanted to move over into something that could be divided into modules, for example, beneficiary management, claim management, like functional entities that could be managed independently, and then even have structures which look a bit into microservices, or at least to be similar. So, for example, we have an AI module that can run independently and would just be connected to openIMIS through FHIR interfaces. And with that, we could even offer this AI module to other systems which are not using openIMIS. They could just use the AI module through the API interfaces. So that was the target architecture. Then you will see the new full open source software stack. So when you look at the components in terms of technology, what we started with was an MS Microsoft Server and a Microsoft SQL Server as a technology base, and software was done with active server pages for the front end and Visual Basic in .NET for the back end. And so that was transferred to React.js for the front end, Python with Django libraries in the back end for the business logic, and GraphQL for the data access layer. And yeah, just now this month, we are packaging a release that has Postgres as a database. That's the big step that we are leaping at right now. The whole thing is can run on a Linux server and is packaged in Docker packages. So you have a full open source stack from the top to the bottom. And but you could still, if you want, you could still use Microsoft Server, and SQL Server as the software package itself is also capable of running on those platforms. You just don't use Visual Basic and .NET anymore. That's about it. So. Yeah, next slide, please. The roadmap has been quite long now. There were gaps in between, so we didn't take the full 4 years. It always depends on finance and availability of the developers. But it was quite a way, starting from the big green blob at the left-hand side of the picture, the Microsoft IMIS. We have basically carved out functionalities and like the light green bars that you see, and we have added functionalities, the light green bars outside of this big dark green thing. And like over the years, we have added new things. We didn't to create a one big bang scenario at the end of the 4 years. We wanted to avail releases in between, so existing implementations can adapt and slowly get used to the new architecture. So we kept adding those things. And now with the current October release, we have finally arrived at this full open source software stack. So that was the goal. There are a few minor things that still need to be done in specific implementations in certain countries, but you are able now to install openIMIS as a fully open source stack without any licensing problems towards Microsoft. For the next program phase, we will look at social protection as the next major activity that we will finance and develop. The result is basically a nicely structured modular architecture. If you are familiar to the JLN business processes, you might see analogies to the blocks that we have structured according to those business process areas. The ones which are marked with a star are functionalities which have come in new. So, for example, contract management and accounting are modules that now enable openIMIS to run formal sector schemes and to connect to a payment layer. You might also see the interoperability layer at the bottom, where we have heavily invested into FHIR and some specific ETL functionalities for DHIS2. And you might also see the claim AI that is mainly being used for claim adjudication now, but that could also be extended into other AI tasks. Of course, the whole thing looks new. On the left side, you see the old .NET user interfaces, a bit heavy and a bit old-fashioned. And on the right side, that's the new look that openIMIS is presented in right now. The whole user interface is lighter and a bit cleaner. It's not that crowded anymore, so it looks much better now. But by the way, don't try that comparison with our profile pictures. You might get another result that only works with software, that you look better the older you get. Next slide, please. I talked about the interoperability layer. We are aiming at different playgrounds. What you see on the top left is basically the health scenario in the OpenHIE context. Here we are heavily relying on HL7 Fire, and that's an existing standard that is already established. So here we are already quite firm. And there are new initiatives coming up in social protection on the payment side, and for the whole of government approaches. So there's GovStack, the Digital Convergence Initiative, and OpenG2P. We have been playing around with those standards as well, although we clearly have to see they are not yet established in praxis. So that's an option that we are looking at and working on. If you go to the next slide, I think there should come an example of how we have set up interoperability with the payment layer. So you will see openIMIS in the bottom left corner, and within one scheme provider, one insurance company, you could connect openIMIS to MyFOS, for example, as an accounting system. And you could also connect directly to a payment layer. We have done some experience with modular loop that worked quite well. And we are also currently working on direct links with GovStack. So the people from GovStack are currently busy setting up openIMIS with real active data exchange with their pilot instances. So you can really imagine a lot of scenarios which are possible with that interoperability. Same topic, interoperability, that enables us, of course, to use third-party tools. Here is an example of a DHIS2 dashboard that we have pre-configured, and there's an ETL mechanism that can extract data from openIMIS to show them to you in DHIS2 dashboards. And most of you in the room, I guess, are quite familiar with setting up those things. So that's an added benefit. When we look at AI, that module allows you to, if you look at the left side, you see a whole bunch of claim submissions coming in from the hospitals being e-claims. It's quite efficient, so you can receive a lot of claims from the hospitals, but you also have to evaluate those claims and see whether they are fraudulent, maybe, or whether they can be paid directly. If you want to do that manually, you will have to spend quite a lot of time and put a lot of stuff aside to evaluate claims. And so we put that AI module in the middle that can pre-evaluate some of the claims, flag the ones which are suspicious, and then the manual part, the little green box there in the middle. Yeah, thank you, Saurav. That is much smaller then, because some of the claims you can just flag, you can just guide through and get them to payment directly when you use that AI module. So the interesting thing for us as a software producer and provider is packaging actually of AI as a global good. Normally, whenever you see AI projects, you will see projects with an army of data scientists working on algorithms and training models and all that. Of course, the aim of global goods or digital public goods is to provide a software that is generic and can just be adapted easily. And here, of course, we have to do a compromise. If you look at the yellow things in this graphic, those are the things which you still have to customize and where you still need data scientists to define the attributes that you want to look at and to define the categories that you need to get an output. You still have to decide which engine you want to use, whether you want to use deep learning neural networks or whether you can get along with regression models. And you have to train the model, clean the data, and all that work, of course, openIMIS cannot take away from the implementers. But all the green things like the embedding and the API structure, that is something that we can deliver. And with that, implementers will find it much easier to use the openIMIS AI module as a generic good. So I'm done with the technical part. Thank you so much for listening.
Thanks, Uwe. So now, what does that all mean, right? So we saw a new look openIMIS. We saw a lot of new possibilities, functionalities that have been introduced. So now, what does that mean for implementation? Now, we with these new functionalities, we've enabled openIMIS to be used for multiple things. First of all, now we can really manage formal sector health insurance schemes using openIMIS in this new architecture. So we have employer-employee relationship management. We can configure and then accept contributions based on salaries and other information. And we all know that such formal sector insurers might be offering multiple products. So we can bundle products together so that people contribute once, but can take advantage of multiple products being on offer. So all of that is now possible with openIMIS. Towards the end, Uwe pointed at claims, the claims module, the claims AI-based claims module. So that itself is a global public good, and we can use the advanced claims processing module along with other tools as well. So if you already have an MIS working to manage the business processes in your health insurance, but need the power of AI to do some claims processing, you could just use this part of openIMIS to really help you instead of having to reinvent the whole thing in your own tool set. And also with this, we can really go beyond health insurance in openIMIS. So not only formal sector health insurance, but with the payment work, we can do conditional cash transfers, such as in health and nutrition programs, where cash is being used as an incentive to for people to improve their nutritional status, as well as to improve adherence to drug regimens and whatnot in health. Also unconditional cash transfers in the social protection space, as well as accident insurance, so employment injury insurance, something that has already been tried out both in Nepal and Bangladesh. So for all of that, we really want you to engage within the community. We have a lot of tools available, ranging from the wiki, which is our knowledge hub, to forums, a chat group, as well as a service desk where you can ask questions. Of course, all our code is on the GitHub repository, and we do have a demo server for you to play around with. So, so please do engage, tell us about your implementation needs, and we'll try to see how best openIMIS can be used in your scenario. So again, the October 2022 release, as Uwe mentioned, please stay tuned. We'll be launching it within October. Here's some links to get started. We're on Twitter at openIMIS. Our GitHub repository is also just openIMIS. Our website and wiki are also presented there. So please do engage with us for your implementation needs. Thank you very much. And next, I think we have one of our implementers from Nepal presenting some experiences on the use of openIMIS very shortly. So I would just hand over to my colleague and fellow implementer from Nepal, Nirmal.
Hello everyone, I'm Purushottam Sapkota, I will be explaining about the Nepal experience of using openIMIS and where we are using the interoperability of openIMIS and how the interoperability is being achieved here. Most of you might know there are two operators of openIMIS here in Nepal, the Health Insurance Board and Social Security Fund. The Health Insurance Board, they are using openIMIS for the voluntary social health insurance scheme, whereas the SSF, they are using for mandatory health and accident insurance scheme for the formal sector. GIZ headquarters is partnering with ILO to implement a new modules for social protection for Social Security Fund, whereas HIB itself, they are partnering with the GIZ and other partners to implement the voluntary scheme. As you can see, HIB, the Health Insurance Board, has been a part of the community since 2016, and Health Insurance Board is sharing the knowledge of openIMIS and other experiences throughout the community from the start of the day. So in Nepal, we are hosting story tours, as well as we are exchanging the development of the software to everyone as well. And as you can see here, due to which the impact of openIMIS here, there are 5.9 million insurees who are already registered in the health insurance program from Health Insurance Board, where 52% of them are women. And for Social Security Fund, there are 368,000 beneficiaries there. In Nepal, there are 7,700 enrollment officers who are using openIMIS daily, and 900 plus health facility personnel who are using openIMIS to handle claims and verify the insurees and so on. 300 plus health facility staff of Health Insurance Board and SSF are using openIMIS to review the claims and enroll beneficiaries as well. There are 30 plus claim reviewers working to review the claims that are submitted from the health facilities, and 10 plus IT officers working to use the openIMIS here in Nepal. Looking at the interoperability here, the health facility, they are using openIMIS to submit the claims and verify the policies and so on. But since when the openIMIS has already implemented the FHIR standard, now most of the health facilities are using the FHIR standards to send the claims from their EHR system to openIMIS system. So the FHIR sits in between, where all these claims data are being sent to openIMIS. The FHIR implementation is quite different here. We as a GIZ and some partner at HIB and SSF, we have implemented a new way so that the approach could be different here. So what we thought was, if we invited some ESR EMR vendors, that we could roll out the FHIR standard easily throughout the country. So what we did, we invited those EMR vendors, and we sensitized them and we trained them about the FHIR adaptation and the implementation of FHIR, so that it would be easier for the EHR vendors to develop new modules on their side as well. So as a result, because of that, there are almost 50 plus health facilities submitting claims through FHIR for the Health Insurance Board, and 35 plus health facilities sending the claims to FHIR using for the SSF. So this is one of the best examples that we can see where the different approach and the FHIR implementation can help achieve our goal of digitalizing everything and interoperability as well.
All right, thank you very much. Apologies for the slides not moving, but I'm sure we will be sharing them with everyone through various channels, right, afterwards. And if there are any questions now regarding the implementation in Nepal or the openIMIS initiative in general, we'd be happy to answer. Otherwise, back to the organizers.
Yes, thank you, Saurav, Yue, and Nirmal for your discussion about the latest openIMIS, and we're happy to see the progress in Nepal. Dr. Bunchai?
Yeah, thank you, Saurav and Nirmal, and about uh, the, the news openIMIS. My question is that AHIN had working with the GIZ and openIMIS program for the e-learning, and I think we have talking about the DRG. My question is about the AI for claim. You said you implemented to detect something. Is this the algorithm of the DRG include in that, or it just checking for technical, like is it a male or female, or have putting into the, I mean the correct field or something like that. So the question is that the AI in claim detection include the algorithm of the DRG inside those intelligence?
Maybe I could start, and then Uwe, please do complement. So the case of just checking for if it's male or female and all of that, that already existed in openIMIS before the AI. And with the AI, we really wanted to build something that learns from the human reviewers, because a lot of humans are reviewing claims, and learns from that and helps them in making those reviews. So it does go beyond just the simple checks, because those checks already existed. But Uwe can explain a little bit more in technical detail on what and how we're approaching the problem.
Yeah, I think from what I heard from your question is also that you were looking at specific rules that would have to be applied according to DRGs. That I think is not part of the learning thing. I think this is something that should be built into a rule-based engine, where you really specifically say if a certain treatment goes beyond a certain amount of money, then flag it, and you can't pay all of it. The AI-based part is more on well, finding ways of combining attributes in a way that automated learning mechanisms can identify patterns in the in the historic adjudication behavior of the staff that has evaluated claims, and maps that into statistical patterns. So it's not something that you would follow up consciously. You would just look at the results and say, okay, they make sense according to what we have done before, but you still would want to verify that manually. But I think it's a good point that you're bringing up, that DRG mechanisms should be programmed into calculation rules. For example, we have a module for that, and something that you can really program hard coded into your rule-based system to get verifiable results. It's a good inspiration. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Very much to our friends from openIMIS and GIZ and Nepal for the implementation